Hello everyone, welcome to What If Ayanokuji Was in Class 1B Part 2. Before we start, please go support SparkyBoy31 for writing that awesome fanfic. Chapter 16, A New Exam Arrives, The Competition. On the last chapter, the voting exam finished, and Ayanokuji got the protection point. Also Class B was the only one that didn't get a student out, and now everyone was enjoying some relaxing time after the announcements. Yeah, we did it! And now we are closer from being Class A. Let's keep things like this. Shibata was the one saying that excitedly. Don't let your guard down, Shibata. We already know that this school always has surprises for us. Kanzaki crossed his arms. Everyone knew he was right. Anything could happen there. Well, let's just go to the cafeteria and have lunch to celebrate. Don't worry about it for now. Ichinose smiled, trying to take out the serious moment, as everyone agreed to go and eat something. I have to deal with something before, so I'll catch up later. Ayanakuji said that and was the first one to leave, leaving his classmates thinking what he is up to, just leaving after that. Ayanakuji walked through the halls until he got to a place which wasn't known by a lot of students, and waited there until he heard someone. You sure take your time. Fufufu, remember that I can't walk properly, Ayanakuji, but I'm finally here. And I will say what you want first. Did you got the protection point? Sakayanaji is a Class A leader, and the one that wanted to have a competition with Ayanokuji. Yeah, but why you wanted me to get it? You want something that I don't know, right? Ayanokuji was leaned on the wall looking at her. You got me. There is another exam coming soon, Fufufu. I will get to compete with you, but you have to lead your class as the tower. Sakayanaji walked in front of him and smiled. I will defeat the false genius. Fine, I'll make sure that I do that, and we can have that competition. With that, you won't reveal my past, so I don't have another option. Ayanokuji was going to leave, but Sakayanaji stopped him. So, you discovered something about love? I heard the rumors you started to date Ichinose. Fufufu, she went ahead. Ayanokuji didn't know if Sakayanaji was just joking or something, but he shook his head. I sensed something, but not anything like love, or at least that's what I think. Ayanokuji turned around and started to walk away, just hearing a slight laugh before leaving. After that, Ayanokuji went with his classmates, and just spent the day with them, eating and then walking through the shops, and they ended up on leaving everyone early to their rooms, until the next day that would be the surprise. Good morning, everyone! I know we just finished the voting exam, but we have a new exam, so I'll explain it directly. To say this fast, this is the exam where Ayanokuji and Sakayanaji have their chess competition, and Ayanokuji guides the class through some events. After explaining everything, Hashinomiya smiled and raised her voice. Well then, who will guide our class this time? Raise your hand if you want to. Ichinose, Kanzaki raised their hands, but someone unexpected also did it, making Ichinose and Kanzaki to look at him. It was no other than Ayanokuji. I want to. And I have the protection points, so I'll be fine. Ichinose looked at Kanzaki, that nodded, and Ichinose smiled. Okay, sensei, Kiyotaka will take that position. Hashinomiya nodded and takes notes. Then you also have to think of an event, guys. You can tell me about it tomorrow. Like that, Hashinomiya left, leaving everyone thinking, and looking at Ayanokuji. They believed that he would do this perfectly. Ichinose smiled, raising her hand. Okay, guys. Let's talk about this and decide our plan. And like that, everyone stayed at the class to talk for the rest of the day. Chapter 17, Hanami Ichinose SS, True Love. What does love mean? That is a good question. Not everyone can understand what love means. People that live with harsh parents, it's a good example. Or kids that don't even have them. I don't know about my boyfriend's situation, but my mission is to show him about it. The moment when he told me about that, it was like a heartbreak for me. Ichinose, I don't like you back. When Ayanokuji said those words to me, I felt that I was going to cry. But Ayanokuji told me about him. For the first time, I felt that like a knife on my chest. When I was about to leave, then Ayanokuji stopped me, and explained it better. Ayanokuji, the one that always helps me in the class in any situation, didn't feel love, or anything towards anyone, which made me to feel even worse than before. I never noticed that Ayanokuji was also suffering. I didn't know what to say at first. Was he just using us? Or he really thought of us as his friends? My thoughts changed when he asked me a favor, if I could show him what love is, so now, I accepted and we are dating now. I have a new objective. To show Ayanakuji Kiyotaka what is love. Chapter 18. Preparations for the exam. Last time, a new examen was announced, and Ayanakuji accorded in duel with Sakayanaji. But for now Riget would have to prepare for it, so along the class, everyone would prepare for the next few days. Well, what we should use as a test for the exam? Sure, the other classes would choose things that they know they would win. Ichinose was having lunch with everyone, still it was on the class, since in the cafeteria they would be listened by others. Well, I would suggest some kind of sport, since we are kind of a very strong class in that point. Shibata was looking at the notebook with all the possibilities, as everyone in the class was not sure, but then someone added something unexpected. Chess. That made everyone to look at the person that said that. Ayanakuji was with his arms crossed looking at the others that looked at each other. You know a lot of chess, Ayanakuji? Akimura was the one asking that, which Ayanakuji nodded. They would all play against Ayanakuji to see how he played. They believed in Ayanakuji, but they needed to test him. Even thought Ayanakuji wasn't going to play, he would guide the other person, so the class tested him. No one gave even a little warm-up to Ayanakuji. After all, everyone agreed on choosing chess. But Ayanakuji had to choose someone, but for now he would leave that for later. Hanami, we need to talk later. Ayanakuji looked at Ichinose that nodded, when Akimura giggles as she looked at them. Don't forget to use protection, you too. Akimura smiled, teasing them. Hanami seemed to be very nervous, and Ayanakuji, well, poker face, you know Ayanakuji. After that little reunion, everyone went on separate ways, Ayanakuji and Ichinose going to the first room. As they went inside, Ayanakuji prepared coffee for the two of him. As Ayanakuji came back, Ichinose seemed surprised. Kiyotaka, you say you want to train me on chess? So that means? Hanami smiled looking at Ayanakuji. Yeah, I want you to be the one to play chess against the other classes, so we will train chess. I will show you what I can. I believe you won't have a problem understanding. He looked at Hanami as she was embarrassed. Let's begin then. Some hours went away. Ayanakuji and Ichinose spended the time not just playing chess, they spended just time as a couple, as Ayanakuji was starting to feel something he never felt, but he didn't say a thing, and they ended up a bit tired. And that should be done for today, Ayanakuji says as he placed the chess away. Hanami was leaning towards him. Hanami? Kiyotaka, I really want a kiss. I know what we talked, but this is part of love. Hanami laid her head on Ayanakuji's chest. She was going to kiss him, but she was too embarrassed for that. I guess this is not that bad. Ayanakuji looked at Ichinose as he hugged her by the waist, closing his eyes as they both fell asleep, and for the next days preparing for exam. Chapter 19. Final Stand, Artificial versus Natural. Last time, Ayanakuji helped Ichinose to train for their chess match against Class A, which she was doing quite well. They trained every day. At the same time they spent time together as a couple. That was like golden time for Hanami, as Ayanakuji also tried to make it good. Since probably at the end of third year he would go back to the White Room, now they were at Ayanakuji's room. After doing the last practice, Ichinose was not more an amateur in chess. Then, we are ready for tomorrow, still our classmates have to get through too, we have to be careful, Sakayanaji is a good opponent, Ayanakuji said as he prepared a cocoa for Ichinose, and a coffee for him. Yeah, that's true, but I believe in our classmates. She smiled as she took the cocoa and took a sip. And I believe in what you taught me about chess. Ayanakuji nodded as he looked at the class points of each class. Surely they could be Class A if they won against them, but that wasn't an easy thing. Let's just wish for the best. Yeah! Ichinose raises her hand happy and decided to tease Ayanakuji and see his reaction. Hey, Kiyotaka! She smiled as Ayanakuji looked at her. If we win, I want another kiss as a congrats. Yeah, why not? Ayanakuji shrugged as Ichinose was the one red now. Ayanakuji didn't even take a step back when she said about the kiss. Ah, fine, then I'll give more than my best. She stood up and hugged Ayanakuji. That just pats her head slightly. Ayanakuji for a moment felt something warm inside him, but he thought it was just a hug, and just keep spending his time with Hanami that day. Day of the exam. Finally, the day came, and everyone was at the class waiting for Hashinomiya-sensei. They were not nervous or anything, They were ready for everything that Class A makes them to do. 7 challenges. Only one class can win. Okay, everyone, let's do this, Ichinose said as everyone cheered excited for the exam that was going to happen, as Hashinomiya went inside. Alright, everyone, hear me up. Ayanakuji, you will come with me to a room. From there you will communicate with your classmates. The rest of you, wait here until instructions are given, alright? Everyone nodded as Ayanakuji and Hashinomiya left. We believe in you, Kiyotaka, Ichinose said as she started talking with Kanzaki about the events, which were 1 football, 2 maths test, 3 random quiz, 4 language test, 5 swimming race, 6 arm wrestling, 7 chess. Every class surely put effort on choosing their participants. Class A was against Class B, and Class C was against Class D. Class C already knew they would win, so let's just focus on Class A against B. Fufufu, seems like my opponent already arrived, Sakayanaji says as she looked at Ayanakuji. The room was separated by classes. Each one has a computer and a microphone. Ayanakuji glanced around. Sakayanaji, Ryuin, and Horikita were there for the examen. Ryuin had a grin on his face. Of course, he was sure that he would win. Ayanakuji went to his seat and looked at the computer. Let's do this. First, football. The first evento was football, which was left to Shibata, of course. He chose a team and trained for a few days, so they were ready to give a good match. Here Ayanakuji didn't do much, just a few instructions to help Shibata to see everyone, but since Class A doesn't have that ability in football, and this one was for Class B easily, getting the first point. Second, maths test. Again, this event was prepared. After all, Kanzaki, Ayanakuji, and Ichinose helped on that, so Akamura and 2 more students surpasses by the minimum to Class A students. Now Class B was 2 points ahead, while that Class C was absolutely destroying Class D. Third, random quiz. In this one, Ayanakuji didn't interfere. This would be more of a random win than anything, and at the end Class A took the lead here easily. Seemed like they prepared for all kind of questions. Fourth, language test. Kanzaki would also be up for this one, but seemed like Tetsuya took the lead this time, and all against him. He lost against Class A. They lost their advantage. Now this was tied. 5th swimming race. No one was particularly great on this. Even with that, they gave a good race. But at the end, Class A took the lead, so now Class B was with 2 points and Class A with 3. Again, this was getting worse for Class B. If they don't win the next one, this ends. 6th, arm wrestling. Ayanakuji stood back on this event. His classmates already have the hints to win this one, which they did thanks to Shibata again. You know, there are not that many students from this class revealed. Now it was all or nothing, 3-3, both classes tied, and one last event. 7th chess. Ayanakuji and Sakayanaji looked at each other. Sakayanaji was with a smirk. Ayanakuji nodded and focused on the screen. Ready, Hanami? Ayanakuji said by the microphone as Ichinose was there, sitting down in front of Hashimoto, that was in contact with Sakayanaji. I'm ready, Kiyotaka. She smiled as she didn't even blink. She has been preparing for several days. Sakayanaji smiled. Artificial against natural, this should be pretty fun, fufufu. And like that, the chess play started. Everyone was looking at the screen where you could see Hanami and Hashimoto, as well as the chess table. Classes A and B were pretty much wishing for their class to win. Ayanakuji and Ichinose, Sakayanaji and Hashimoto. Each team started with good moves, losing piece to piece. At one time Class B had the lead, other times the lead was for Class A. It was more intense than any other chess anyone has ever seen, but at the end, I won. Sakayanaji made a move that cornered Ayanakuji. That was the end of chess. Class A won, or maybe not. Sorry, Sakayanaji, not this time, Ayanakuji said as he moved his last piece. He cornered Sakayanaji, and her only move was to move the king somewhere. But anywhere she moved it would be the end of the game. Sakayanaji laughed and stood up. Hashimoto, we lost it this time, you can retire. Hashimoto moved the last piece and Hanami moved hers. Class B won. They were not Class A because they needed more difference, but they were one step closer. We did it! Hanami stood up, raising her hand happy, as in the class their classmates were celebrating their victory. While that, on the room, Ayanakuji left the microphone and just stayed there looking at the wall. Work done, good play Sakayanaji. Sakayanaji just nodded. I will want a rematch, next time I'll win, Sakayanaji says as she leaves the room. Good job, Kiyotaka. Hashinomiya smiled as the class points were revealed. Class A, 1.210 points. Class B, 1.123 points. Class C, 756 points. Class D, 70 points. With that, Ayanokuji left the room, in order to reunite with his classmates and Hanami. Eventually they could ascend to Class A, but that's another story. For now, the exam ends like that. Chapter 20, Ayanokuji's Dad. Last time, Class B won against Class A. Everyone was excited because of that and celebrated for that day. Even Ayanokuji enjoyed that, and the next day would be something unexpected would happen. Well, yesterday we enjoyed a good time after the exam, but today back to classes. Keep the work like that, guys. Ichinose was the one talking, as she cheers up for the class, as Hashinomiya entered inside the class. Well, class, today the school decided to give you a free day, so you can leave now. The teacher clapped as she left. Hey guys, how about we go to the pool, just enjoying today? Shibata stood up to talk, but then Ichinose received a message. I have an issue with the student council, sorry guys, and president wants Kiyo to come with me, so I'll see you later, Ichinose said as she dragged Ayanokuji. What's it, Ichinose? Horikita-senpai really wants us to go, Ayanakuji says as Ichinose nods. Then the two of them got to the student council. Come in, Manabu said as he heard the knocks on the door, seeing Ayanakuji and Ichinose. We were waiting for you, Manabu says as he transferred some points to Ayanakuji. This is just a little, wait until I graduate. What does this mean, President? Hanami titled her head in confusion. She didn't know what was happening. Let's say, Ayanakuji did a little favor for Mio and the president next year will be changed, due to some videos of Nagumo that an anonymous sent me. He is out of the student council, so I would like you to be the next secretary, Ichinose. Ichinose smiles happily but confuses of who did that, but she decided to not ask more and keep listening to Manabu. So next year, Ichinose will start immediately, but Tachibana will teach her for the remaining time, Manabu says and then closes his notebook. But Nagumo will try to get revenge, be careful. We will be careful, thanks President. Ichinose and Ayanokuji left the place, and walked towards the pool, but someone tried to punch Ayanokuji, but he dodged. Kuka, seems like you dodged again, monster. Ryuan placed his hands on his pocket. I want to make a deal. I get to fight Ayanokuji anytime I want, and in exchange you will get some information about the next exam, Kuku. That's not... When Ichinose was going to say something, Ayanokuji was called to the teacher's room. Seems like we will have to solve this later, Ryuan. Ayanokuji was going to walk to where he was called, but Hanami grabbed his hand. Wait, I'll go too. Ichinose looked at Ayanokuji's eyes as Ryuan already left. Ayanokuji shook his head. I'll go on my own this time, Hanami. Just go with the others and I'll see you later. Ichinose was going to complain, but Ayanokuji already was out of her sight. Ayanokuji got to the place, where Hashinomiya was waiting with a smile. Ayanokuji, someone is here to see you. Ayanokuji was now sure that man came to get him, but that won't happen. He walked to a certain room, where someone was sitting down on the chair looking at him. So, you came for me? Kiyotaka, who would think that my masterpiece would run here from me? I came to take you back to the White Room. No, Ayanokuji was going to leave. Obviously, that man seemed pissed off. Kiyotaka, I will make you to come back, now or later. You won't stay here for 3 years, you have to continue your training. The man stood up. I will make your life in school like a living hell. I also heard you have a girlfriend. Like you care about that. You want me to marry someone important, but I won't go back to that place, and don't come back here. Ayanokuji left, leaving his father on that room. After a while, Ayanokuji was at the rooftop, looking at the sky relaxed. He knew that his father won't let it to go that easily, but he had to protect Hanami, as she was an important being for him. Seems like this will be a drag, but I have to protect Hanami from him, protect my freedom. Chapter 21, Changing Her. Last time, Ayanokuji's dad came for him, but he ended up getting away. Ayanokuji wanted to progress his class to Class A, That way, if he escapes with Ichinose, the two of them would have for sure a good future and job. But for that he needed to show Ichinose that she had to change. She was too nice. It was good that she cared for her classmates. But she didn't let anyone out or away, which costed more points than expected. The class also was starting to have problems due to the amount of students. Alright, I'll talk with her later on, but now. Ayanakuji walked to his room, where he made a few calls. To who? You will know another time. I'll also talk with Manabu once he is out of the school. Ayanakuji was already making plans in order to ensure his life after school. Ayanakuji had a little notebook. Having his plans on his phone could make him to be discovered. Get Manabu to find Ichinose's family, and bring them to a safe place so father doesn't find them. That was one of his plans. He also had another things in mind, but he will leave that for later, since now he would go to the cafeteria where everyone is. Seems like today is going to rain pretty hard. Ayanakuji, hey there. Kanzaki was the one talking to Ayanakuji, just both of them stopping as they looked at each other. Can we talk for a bit? I need to take something out and maybe you can help with this. Ayanakuji sends a message to Ichinose saying to meet later and looked at Kanzaki. Sure, I'll hear you out. The two of them walked to a bench outside. Lucky for them it wasn't raining for now, it was just very cloudy. You see, I appreciate Ichinose as a leader and I am alright with her methods to ascend, but we could go quicker. I mean if we took out the part of protecting our classmates even if it costs millions of points. Kanzaki sighed. I know this sounds selfish. Ayanakuji shook his head. Actually, I have the same thoughts, Kanzaki, and I was planning to make Ichinose realize later on, and I will make her to change. Maybe it takes her a bit to get to that, but we will. Kanzaki nodded. Great, thanks. Himino also had the same thing in mind about methods, but she will be good with hearing that. Kanzaki stood up and looked at Ayanakuji. You are really something else, Ayanakuji. You would be a lot of trouble if you ended up in another class. Kanzaki turned and smiles a little. But you surely are a good person, he says before leaving. A good person, how well, let's get into business. Ayanakuji says, standing up as the rain started at the worst moment. Ayanakuji got a bit wet but not much. He would head to his room immediately. A bit later, Ayanakuji already showered. It was almost time for the meeting with Ichinose. He prepared 2 cups, one with coffee and one with cocoa, which Ichinose liked, and after a while he heard his doorbell. Kiyotaka, I'm here. Hanami opened the door and walked inside. She immediately noticed that Ayanakuji recently showered. Thanks for preparing a cocoa for me, and sure it's raining heavy, huh? Yeah, Ichinose, hear me out. Ichinose turned to Ayanakuji, which was looking at her with dark eyes, which made her to flinch a bit. You have to change your way of leading the class, even if it means sacrificing someone to improve. We will never get to Class A if we continue like this. Ichinose had her mouth open to talk, but she was a bit scared. Even though that was her boyfriend, he was getting serious. But I don't want to leave anyone behind. What will they feel? Ayanakuji grabbed Ichinose's wrist and lifted her up to the air. Hanami, one student's life here doesn't compare to a full class's possible future. You have to stop that and focus on what's the wall in front of you. Kiyo, this hurts, stop. Hanami was with one of her eyes closed trying to look at Ayanakuji, but she was starting to realize why he was doing this, when she was pushed to the bed. Kiyotaka, you are being too harsh. Ayanakuji grabbed both of her arms so she wouldn't move. I will do this until you understand what I am saying, and change to better from now on. You will not be alone, that's for sure. Ichinose was starting to tear a bit, but she closed her eyes and nodded. Yeah, I understand, and I will change my way of leading the class. I can't ensure when you will see improvement, but I promise, she said as her arms were free as she fell immediately to the bed. If you understand, that's everything. Ayanakuji went back to his usual state and sat down to continue with his coffee. Kiyotaka, thanks, Ichinose said as she scratched her arm. She realized that Ayanakuji was doing that for her sake and the others. She turned to him and smiles. Still her wrist hurts, but she got her cocoa. Ayanakuji was thinking that with that the being, Ichinose Hanami, would make a drastic change on her thoughts. But she will improve as a person and as her girlfriend. No problem, just don't get carried away. Yeah, Kiyo, but now I have to go. I'll see you in class tomorrow, she says as she leaves the empty cup on the table, kissing Ayanakuji and leaving, probably to make order in her mind. One thing done, now we have to see how this will end up changing for the future of the class. Ayanakuji says, laying on his bed and just reading relaxed for the rest of the day. Chapter 21, New Class B. Last time, Ayanakuji talked with Ichinose, making her to realize that she had to change, which she would end up understanding, and left the place. Ayanakuji just lets her be, and went to his own things. From that day, Ichinose didn't go to class for like 2 days. Hey guys, do you think Hanami is doing okay? Meiko was the one talking to the rest of the class. It was obvious that almost everyone was worried. Hanami is fine. Ayanakuji decided to talk to the class, not mentioning that some changes would happen. She is just ill. She told me tomorrow she will be back. Don't worry about her. Everyone nodded, as Ayanakuji just looked at the teacher. Well, class, it's sad to say that 5 students will get expelled, but you will not get lower points, don't worry. Insert 5 random students walking out crying. And now, I would like you to greet your new classmates. Everyone lets a surprise sound, as Ayanakuji just looked at Kanzaki that nodded. Seems like this was planned. Flashback the day before. You want to transfer some students to our class? Class D students even? Kanzaki, Himino, Hanami and Ayanakuji were on Ayanakuji's dorm talking. Kanzaki was the one who asked that. Yeah, I have to talk with them, but surely they will agree, and also, we will get 5 people in our class out, don't worry, they are the less valuable. Ichinose squeezed, but she knew it was for the best. And who will you transfer to our class? Himino was looking at Ayanakuji as she was leaning on the wall. Susan Horikita, just doing a favor, but I'm sure she will be helpful. Hirata Yusuke, I'm sure I don't have to explain here. Kenji Ryasuke, I will talk to him, but his abilities will help the class. Even thought in his other class he didn't want to show anything. And Chiaki Matsushita, she hides something. And what will happen to the rest of Class D? The 3 asked, looking at Ayanakuji. Expelled. With 0 points, and their towers on other classes, that class is going to fall in just 1 day. Before they know that's the end, only the strong can survive. Then you will go and talk to them. You need help? Kanzaki says as he finished his coffee. I only need Hanami for this. Tomorrow you will see the results. You can leave. Ayanakuji says as Kanzaki and Himino left. You know, Kiyo, you are really becoming Class B's leader. Hanami smiles, having her cocoa. She agreed to not go to school until all the transfers were done. That's your position. Only a few people know that this is my idea. I prefer to stay back. Ayanakuji closed his eyes, and after a minute he stood up. Let's go. The meeting was at an unknown cafeteria. They would be quiet and with no one disturbing there. Ayanakuji, of course, made some arrangements first, so they wouldn't have lack of points when transferring comes. So that's why you called us here. Horikita was the first talking, and was now thinking wisely. After a while she sighed. I'm in, I'll help your class. Horikita wanted to get to Class A, and surpass her brother, so getting expelled wasn't an option. Interesting, Ayanakuji boy, you want this perfect being on your class. Kenji says, fixing his hair with a wide smile as always. Fine, you will have the honor of working by my side, but remember what we talked. I'm in. Matsushita nodded. She was feeling bad for her classmates, but it was a good opportunity. Hi. Hirata was looking down. He didn't want to abandon his classmates. Hirata, just think about this whole year. What did your classmates ever do for you? You only survived by the minimum, and they don't put their all. Come to us. This will be for the best. Alright, I'm in. Hirata joined to the other 2 and signed the paper, and after a few calls, everything was ready for their transfer. End of flashback. I would like you to greet your 4 new classmates, Susan Horikita, Chiaki Matsushita, Hirata Yusuke and Kenji Ryasuke. Welcome them. Hashinomiya smiled as she pointed at the 3 students coming in. Everyone looked at them and then at Kanzaki, who nodded. Hashinomiya seemed happy to have them on their side, but then she added something. Class D doesn't exist more. All of their students but these 4 were expelled. What? Everyone said, as the teacher just sent them to their assigned spots and started the class. She preferred to not explain anything more and go with the class. Like that, the day went with no more issues. Everyone greeted their new classmates, even dragged Matsushita and Horikita to hang out with the girls. On Kenji's part, he seemed to enjoy more that class, even agreed to practice sports with Shibata, And the next day Hanami joined again, so a new Class B was born. Chapter 22, End of the First Year Arc. Time passed, the class was still working hard to make it to Class A, with their new students, as now there was no Class D that was bothering them, and the class improved drastically with the inclusion of Koenji and the others. Still that day the question came. Ayanakuji, I have been wondering this for some time. Meiko looked at Ayanakuji that just listened. Just how the hell did you get enough points to transfer everyone? Let's just say I got the points from everyone that was in Class D with a little trick, and Classes C and A also wanted Class D out, so I got some points too, and finally a third year that owed me a favor transferred me most of his points and some others, making also some things to help me on this, Ayanakuji said as his points were still in good terms. That's impressive, you always go one step in front of us. I didn't expect you to expel everyone on Class D. Kanzaki was just looking at the class talking. It's not like that, I just did what anyone would do. What Ayanakuji said made the others to laugh. After all, not many people would ruin the future of more than 20 students. Well, first year is ending and we are really close to being Class A. So let's keep the hard work, guys. Ichinose raised her hand happy, as the class just answered excitedly. Let's make a party to end this year. Matsushita, that already was used to the class and joined Mako's group of friends. You can party, I have to take care of some business, Ayanakuji says, leaving the place, as Horikita wasn't there too. From here let's skip a bit. The Horikita and her brother scene will happen, of course. I want make Horikita to cut her hair. I really prefer the long one. As a final, Ayanakuji also had a little chat with older Horikita, since he would still help him outside of school, because Ayanakuji had to make progress to be ready when school comes to an end. On other part, he also talked with Ryuin and Sakayanagi, that both agreed on just peace for the last days for their first year, which was surprising that even Ryuin agreed. On the main class, they made a big party where everyone had a bit of fun, and talked how they would do everything the next year. As for Ayanakuji and Ichinose, the couple still need to go through a lot, as Ayanakuji still didn't know about feelings, but surely on the second year they will progress. Chapter 23, Holidays and a New Beginning. Last time, first year finished for Class B, being quite ahead from Class C, and closer to Class A, but that would be left for after holidays, that everyone would surely enjoy, even Ayanakuji while end up joining his classmates. If he didn't join, Hanami would just call him and drag him to everything, and one day. Kiyotaka! Hanami entered into his room, where Ayanakuji was just at his bed reading a book. Let's go shopping! You will help me choose things. Ayanakuji looked at her and sighed, closing his book. Fine, just let me get changed. After a while Ayanakuji came out of the bathroom wearing common clothing, which made Ichinose to smile. Alright, you look perfect, Kiyotaka. I would just hug you all day. Anyways, let's go. Hanami held Ayanakuji's hand as the two of them headed out of the room. So, what's the plan for today, Hanami? Ayanakuji says while walking through the halls, the couple gaining the eyes of some people around, mainly because of Ichinose. I just want to get new clothes for both of us. It sounds fun to go shopping with your boyfriend. She smiled sweetly as she pulled him towards the shops. During that time at the shops, Ayanakuji got to see Ichinose in a good variety of clothes, which he had to admit she looked good, but Ichinose almost died when Ayanakuji was trying clothes, because for her, she never did really saw Ayanakuji in those clothes, and she seemed really nervous when it comes to that. But after all, they end up getting most of the things, while Ayanakuji didn't buy anything for him. Ichinose bought it secretly. I think you bought way too many clothes. Ayanakuji was helping Ichinose to carry the bags. Of course, Ichinose was also carrying some. Kiyotaka, Ichinose, hey there. Hirata walked towards them, being with Matsushita. Seemed like you had fun. Yeah, kind of. Ichinose laughs a bit as she noticed that first-year students were already arriving, since holidays were coming to an end. What do you think this year will be like? Well, we are just 3 classes now, the competition will be more intense, and surely we will have to act more eager now. Matsushita smiled as she sits down on a bench. Yeah, Ryuin and Sakayanagi will attack more than before, Ryuin aggressively, so we have to be careful. Hirata decided to also sit down. Yeah, we will just have to wait and see what it happens, right? Ayanokuji says as he decided to go back to Ichinose's room. But Ichinose bought something else before going back. You will know soon enough. That day, nothing else happened, more than hearing some rumors about the new students. And soon enough the second year came for everyone, but just the first few minutes, a new exam was announced. So, on this exam we will have to team up with a first-year student, and if we fail we can be expelled? Hanami talked first, standing up. Basically this exam is the same as on the light novel, having to get paired with a first year and all those things, but with no Class D here, we will make that one. Class of the first year is safe because of an unknown decision. What a great start! Ayanakuji says as everyone was standing up to make a plan for this. Thought Ayanakuji didn't join, he was more focused on the noise that could be heard on the halls. Well then I will rent the place so we can reunite first and second years. Ichinose ran out of the class but immediately fell down due to crashing into a gorilla, more to say, a person that looked like one. You hitch, look where you walk, after all we came just to see if we could save your bucking asses. That guy entered into the classroom making everyone to stand up in case it was only for trouble. You nannies, I want you to tell me which one of these subordinates can make me get the best result possible. That guy told that to the blonde girl that was next to him. Yes, Housen, she said, taking out her phone and looking at everyone. Actually a few people of this class would make it possible, starting with the girl that just bumped into you, Ichinose Hanami. Alright, you hitch, stand the buck up or I'll hit you, Housen said. Ayanokuji, seeing that could be a problem, he stood up and walked towards them. You could be a little more respectful, don't you think? Ichinose stood up without getting intimidated by Housen. Sorry, but I will ask you to leave. We don't plan on getting pairs right now, we have to discuss. You thought that was just to ask to make pairs? It was an order. Housen raised his fist to hit Hanami, but Ayanokuji grabbed his wrist just in time. And who the hell are you? I'm just her boyfriend, so I can't let you to hit her. Ayanokuji, even still with his poker face and monotone voice, was kinda of intimidating, well, not for Housen. So you are her pet? Just leave me alone or you will also get to be my punching bag. Housen started to throw punches towards Ayanokuji, which he just dodged without hitting back until Hashinomiya came and Housen with Nanace left the class. We will have to be careful with those first years. We already saw that they don't mind hitting people, much like Ryuen. Kanzaki speaked while Hashinomiya was making sure everyone was fine. Don't worry, they won't be much of a problem. Let's just follow Honami's plan for a reunion and see what it happens. Ayanokuji just went back to his desk and let the day go through normally, without knowing that soon enough something would change the track of this year.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.